Tesla now, and a whistleblower who's battled Elon Musk and the car maker through the courts for a decade has been speaking to the BBC. Christina Ballin says she's still seeking a public apology for how she was treated after raising safety concerns about Tesla vehicles. Until 2014, Ms. Ballin was a rising star at the car maker in the US. She spoke to our technology editor, Zoe Kleinman.
I was the only woman in the team, like engineering team, and in the beginning it was great.
In the early days, Christina Ballin was doing so well at Tesla, her initials were engraved on the car's batteries. But she says it wasn't long before things took a turn for the worse.
Everything went south when I realized that they were hiding some critical safety issues.
She claims they pretended that they didn't know. And you decided to go right to the top. You went to Elon Musk himself.
I tried to.
And what exactly was the safety concern?
They realized that they make a design and engineering mistake on the carpets, you know, that the carpets that you have under the paddles and in the front of the car. So what happened, it's those carpets, they were curling under the brake and under the acceleration.
Christina further claims that she'd heard there were complaints made about this issue, so believes Tesla was aware of it. She claims that when she shared her worries, Tesla's management turned hostile. She lost her job, sued the firm and won. But then Tesla did something unexpected.
They dared to accuse me of serious crimes, like embezzlement. They just purely invented those with one scope in mind, to give a lesson to everybody who dared to speak up.
Tesla said in a public statement that Christina had used company resources for a secret project. She denies this, and the firm has never provided proof. What do you want to get out of this now, this long-running battle with this company?
I want to clear my name. I wish Elon Musk had the decency to apologize. I am battling the most aggressive type of breast cancer. And Elon Musk and their lawyers knows that. And they were willing to allow a little boy who I'm his hero for him. You know, I'm the mommy who does airplanes and cars, to let my memory of me for him be shadowed forever, that his mom stole from Tesla. And I want to do something for all the cancer patients out there, and especially breast cancer patients.
Oh, you're setting me off. My goodness. BBC News put her claims to Tesla, but the firm has not responded. On its website, Tesla says safety is the most important part of every Tesla. We design our vehicles to exceed safety standards.
Tesla could have done the right thing for so many years, and they didn't.
It'll now be up to the California courts to decide the next chapter for Christina, who's currently in remission from her cancer. But there's no court date set yet. Zoe Kleinman, BBC News.
Smoking is the single biggest cause of preventable death in the UK. It kills 2/3 of long-term users. The aim of the new bill before Parliament is to protect younger generations from harm by banning tobacco use for them. One caller with experience of that harm told the Nicky Campbell show on BBC Radio 5 Live he regretted ever starting to smoke.
I had to have one lung removed, got emphysema and COPD in the other lung, and now I found out I've got terminal cancer in my liver and adrenal glands. If
I'm
I
so
could go
sorry.
back, I would. Yeah, it's something I've got used to now. I've come to terms with it, but what I've gone through the last 3 years, I wouldn't like anybody to go through. You know, and if I could go back, I wish I never started.
The harm done by smoking is well documented. It causes lung and heart disease, cancers, stillbirths, dementia and asthma. England's Chief Medical Officer, Sir Chris Whitty, supports the ban.
People are trapped in smoking at a very young age, and once they become addicted,
their choice is taken away. So if you're in favour of choice, you should be against something which takes away people's choices. The great majority of smokers wish they'd never started, but now they're in trouble.
The tobacco and vapes bill set before Parliament today represents a huge step change. It proposes that anyone turning 15 this year and all younger generations would be banned from buying cigarettes throughout their lives. But it sparked a fierce debate about freedoms.
What this policy does, it infantilizes future adults, because when you are 18 in this country, you are legally an adult, and as such, you should be treated like one. Now, look, at 18, you can drive a car, you can join the army, you can possess a credit card, you can buy alcohol, and most importantly, you can vote.
The bill also includes new restrictions to tackle concerns about the sharp rise in children using vapes. It would ensure flavours and packaging were less appealing to children, but some are doubtful it will work.
I don't think anybody necessarily looks at the packaging and be like, oh, let's just try that. It's more that, oh, it's vaping, it's like a cool thing to do, just as smoking was in the 80s. Kids will be kids, they will try smoking, they'll try vaping.
The debate continues in Parliament today, where MPs will be given their first chance to vote on what would be the world's first lifelong smoking ban for younger generations. Sophie Hutchinson, BBC News.
Well, that debate is continuing in the Commons, and Health Secretary Victoria Atkins has been explaining why she wants the law to be changed.
We are trying to move away from this idea that teenagers, current youngsters, will be able to buy their cigarettes legally in shops from the age of 18 in 2027, precisely because we want to ensure that they can lead longer, healthier lives.
Victoria Atkins there, the Health Secretary.
Fox News alert now. Action could be imminent as Israel weighs a response to Iran's missile attack on Saturday. Trey Yinks is live next to one of those Iranian missiles in southern Israel that hit ground. Trey, was that knocked out of the sky or did that land?
Yeah, hey, Brian, good morning. Behind me is the fuel cell of an Iranian ballistic missile that was recovered by the Israelis following that attack by Iran this weekend. You can see the sheer size of this missile, 36 feet long, and this is about 70% of the entire missile that was launched from Iranian territory. The Israelis don't know what the exact target was, but they do know it was either shot down or it separated as it entered Israeli territory. We also know that there was a 500-kilogram warhead on top of this missile. That's about half a ton of explosives, and it was one of more than 110 ballistic missiles launched toward Israel over the weekend. I do want you to listen to Israel's Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, who released a new statement in English overnight discussing what the Israeli response to this attack might be.
We remain at our highest level of readiness. Iran will face the consequences for its actions. We will choose our response accordingly.
The region is waiting to see how Israel will respond to this ballistic missile, cruise missile, and drone attack launched by Iran over the weekend. They do have a variety of options, and Israel's war cabinet is set to meet for a third day in a row. Later tonight, they will be discussing how Israel plans to strike back against the Islamic Republic. Brian?
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Everyone's on pins and needles in the entire area. Nobody knows exactly what's next. Thanks, Trey.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today in a major case stemming from the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The outcome could invalidate felony obstruction charges for more than 300 people connected to the attack, including former President Trump. Senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer joins me now for more on this. And Devin, you've been listening into these arguments all morning long. How is each side making their case?
Well, Stephanie, this case involves a law passed in the wake of the Enron scandal more than 20 years ago to prevent the destruction of evidence and financial documents. But prosecutors in those 300 cases and in the case against President Trump, as you mentioned, used this law to potentially send some of those alleged rioters behind bars for as much as 20 years. There's a provision in the Sarbanes-Oxley Act that says it is a crime to otherwise impede or interfere with an official proceeding. The government right now, Stephanie, is arguing that that is pretty broad language that applies to these rioters. They interfered with the counting of electoral votes. But one of the accused, Joseph Fisher, he's the man who brought this case. He has been charged with obstruction. He says really what Congress meant in this law was simply to penalize matters related to financial crimes and evidence, and that it was improperly used. The justices right now, Stephanie, are debating the language. This is a very textual case, and they're trying to figure out what exactly Congress meant when they wrote this, and can it be applied to these January 6 cases.
And how long could we see them discussing this for? When could the court issue a ruling?
Well, a ruling is expected by the end of the term, so just a couple months from now, the end of June. Those 300 cases that you talked about, all on the line here, those defendants could see reduced sentences if they've already pled guilty or been convicted. Some of the charges could be dropped in some of those cases, and one of the cases most closely watched, of course, is that of President Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith brought 4 charges against Donald Trump for his alleged election interference, and one of them was obstruction of an official proceeding brought under this very same financial evidence law from more than 20 years ago. So what the Supreme Court says about how that law can be applied could potentially also impact the president and whether that charge can go forward.
And while we have you, let's talk about a recent decision. Meanwhile, the court is allowing Idaho's ban on gender-affirming care for minors to be enforced. How significant is that, and what kind of immediate impact could we see?
Well, the Supreme Court yesterday morning did not weigh in on the merits of this case, Stephanie, but they did say that Idaho can begin enforcing this ban, a 10-year penalty, criminal penalty for any doctor that provides hormone therapy and the like to transgender kids under the age of 18. It is significant in that families seeking that care in Idaho will now be denied that care while this litigation continues. More than 20 states have laws that severely restrict this type of transitioning care. But on the other hand, the fight continues, Stephanie. The Supreme Court did allow the parents